Alright guys, so I did a video like this a few weeks ago and it's been getting some good response, and it basically was talking about the dark side of collecting, whether it be the addiction or spending too much of your money on the stuff and just having the struggles of dealing with it. I mean, let's be honest, with a lot of people with collecting, you have to have some kind of mental issue to push you to really need to get all that stuff, guys. And what I want to do today is talking again about the dark side of collecting and some of the stuff that I think that needs to get out there. So once again, this is going to be a very what do I want to say, it's going to be very freeing, and it's going to be very probably problematic and just real, guys. I just want to do a real conversation with you guys. Now, in the past, when I talked about my experiences with addiction in general, just from alcohol and drugs, and how in September I will be celebrating 10 years sober, and how, you know, usually when you give up one addiction, the problem is that you never really get done with addiction. You always usually get addicted to something else, and a lot of people don't like to agree with me, but there is a such thing, I think, as an addictive personality. You find something you like, you might have some kind of mental issue and stuff like that, and you can't regulate dopamine. So then you find something you like, and you just really like to keep doing it, guys. So I think a lot of times with me, yes, I gave up the drugs and the drinking and stuff like that, and I went on to have a better life with having a family and a kids and owning a house, and, you know, not going down the very bad path that a lot of people do. But that just opened the door for other addictions. So originally, one of my other things was the gym. I usually work out 3 to 4 times a week. I actually manage a gym on the side. It's one of my side hustles compared to my real job. But one thing that really got me too was, especially since hitting, you know, the mid 30s and hitting 30s in general, was collecting video games. And the addiction when that took over was overwhelming. So when I started getting pickups and stuff like that, it was very dopamine spike rich. The thrill of the hunt, the thrill of getting games, the thrill of building something. And I've said before that I made the mistakes that when I first started off, I just began grabbing everything in sight. And I really wanted to push for a Nintendo collection, an original Nintendo collection, even though I wasn't even really sure why, because I'm not a huge NES fan. I mean, I grew up with one. I like the essentials, you know, I love Jackal, I love Mario. Mario 3 is one of my favorite games. But besides that, Sega Genesis and PlayStation became more of my consoles of nostalgia. Now, I still play NES here and there, and I always like to try out different games. But I think what I got into was just the nostalgia, just the, what do I want to say, the niche, I don't know if I pronounced that right, of collecting NES games, because I've seen a lot of people doing it, and a lot of them had cool collections. And if you think about it, NES is really what saved video games after the Atari flop and the arcades kind of taking a dive, and NES bringing stuff to your home was really the next big thing. So I was like, well, why don't I just start getting a collection? Now, in the beginning, I made the mistake of just buying everything in sight, so I was getting like bump and jump, I don't know. I don't even really remember anymore. But there was just a bunch of games that I did not even like, that I didn't even know nothing about. But I was just like, I gotta get them. I gotta get them. A couple X-Men games, and then I popped them in and I played them, and they were horrible, absolutely garbage. And I'm like, why do I have this game? Well, it doesn't matter. I'm not gonna play it. I'm collecting. And then, you know, I just went on to do that with a lot of things. It was like I got a Genesis going, and I had to get all the systems, so I started buying Sega Saturn, Sega CD, Sega, you know, 32X, and all this other stuff. But then when it came down to buying the games, I was just kind of like, why did I have this? You know, I just wanted to have all the consoles in case I ever ran into the video games in the wild, I could actually play them. But the problem was all these consoles I was collecting for were very expensive. And the games, even shitty games, were not cheap, guys. And I went on to struggle with this because it was like, well, I want to play this new console I got. I need to get some games for it. So, I never really... I've had a few subscribers reaching out to me about this, because this is real. This, like, we talked about the addiction and stuff like this, and the dark side of this is, one guy said that he almost lost his house. He almost got divorced. He almost lost his kids, lost his car, lost his job, because he was using credit cards to buy all this stuff. And then just buying and buying and buying, and I'm sure that, in the end, he had an amazing collection, and I hope that he was able to sell a lot of that stuff to get some of his money back. But it could have very well have ruined his whole relationship with his spouse and kids. And just thinking about that was, I never, I think I caught myself to that point where I didn't start busting out the credit card to buy a very rare graded game for $1,000 or something, like some of these people that are saying that they're investments and stuff like that. But is it really an investment? Are you just addicted to, collecting these games? And see, and that's one of the first, obviously one of the first things they tell you about addiction and stuff like that is you have to admit you have a problem. And I see a lot of people, I'm not going to point fingers, because that's not how I am with this and wanting to be real and stuff, but I see a lot of people on YouTube that have clear signs of addiction in their collecting. They are, obviously not playing games. They are just grabbing whatever they can. And that's fine. If they don't have a problem with it, if they don't have any issues with it, that is okay. That you do not have to, by all means, if that's how you want to do your stuff, guys, go ahead. But I wanted to talk, too, about some of the stuff and the shady stuff that I've done in the past to get games, though. So, I never liked to be a reseller, and I never liked to do any of that stuff like that, but I had in the past, almost ripped some people off, or lied to, I should say, is what the main thing is. So, a while back, I got a huge NES collection sold me. It had that boxed NES that's behind me. It had a bunch of games that were boxed and everything like that. And in all honesty, I can't say that I ripped them off completely, because I asked them how much they wanted for it. They told me. And, it was obviously really low balled. And I said, okay, yeah, I will gladly pay that. So I don't know if you can really say that I ripped them off. But the only thing I lied to them about was later on, after I did the pickup and stuff, they generally asked me, what is this worth? And I kind of told them, the ballpark of it, but I kind of left some stuff out because I didn't want to hurt their feelings first. And I want to say ashamed about it or guilty that I really got this great of deal. So, it was a couple $100 worth of stuff. I think I paid $200 for it, which was good. And they got their money. And they were happy, and they got rid of the stuff. So I can't really say too much about it, but it was that guilt later on about it too. And just now, I was having that guilt inside whenever I see that. And now whenever I go to sell the stuff, to kind of help with the guilt, I try and not sell it for extreme amounts. So if it's price charting for $50 or $60, I might knock it down to $40. With the shipping and stuff like that, just because I know how much I paid for it, and I don't feel right charging so much for it. And that's honestly a lot of what this is too, is just that guilt sometimes with buying and selling games. And I don't get it, how you have these YouTube channels that's specifically what they do. They go around, they buy this stuff cheap, and they resell it for a bunch of money. And you see these guys all the time in these Facebook groups. And I understand it's a business. This is a livelihood. This is what they do. And, honestly, they always talk. I'm not saying these guys are scumbags, but, there is that certain people talk about that scumbag mentality it takes to be a salesman. And I honestly don't think I can do it. Because there's a lot of times, too, that somebody will sell me a sob story. Oh, my dog just died. Or, when I was growing up, my grandma passed away, and this was the last game she gave me. And then, I'm just feel bad, and I'm like, well, here, just take it then. And it could be an expensive game, but because they told me that story, and my general empathy for another human being when it comes to stuff like that, I'm just like, well, here, take it then. You don't have to pay me. You don't have to pay me, you know. Now I'm probably gonna end up getting people on Instagram and stuff that want to buy games, just trying to get me to do that. But that's how it goes. I mean, I don't even know where I'm going with this video again, and it's kind of like the last one where I just kind of go on a tangent talking about this stuff. But since that last video and talking about addiction, I had somebody calling me out too on it, saying that I talked about wanting to sell most of my stuff and buy games that I actually wanted to play. And he flat out said that, you know, you're not really fixing the problem. You're going to end up selling games and buying more games and just restarting, or buying games that you don't even want. And that really hit home, because that's something I have to watch out for, because that could happen. But this has been like the first time in my life that I have a bunch of credit at my game store and I'm not dropping it on a bunch of crap. I think last time I was there, I had about $180 in credit there at my local game. So it's not a GameStop or anything, it's just a local one. So a lot of times I will bring, you know, maybe a box or so into there. And if there's a game there that I've been wanting, or I've always wanted when I was to add to my RPG collection, my little one, or the games that I've wanted to play, then I'll pick it up. But it has to be a game that I want to play. I think last time I was in there, I picked up Modern Warfare 2 on PS5, because I've been wanting to get more into online competitive playing again. Because when I was younger, that was what I loved to do, was play free-for-all and team deathmatch and stuff. And I've actually got a bunch of coworkers that do this, and they play for fun and they play competitively. So I've been wanting to get really back into that, and it's been fun, you know, in between editing videos and in between, you know, filming videos and stuff. When I'm on my night shift and my night rotation, I'm playing a couple rounds here and there and enjoying it. And I also wanted to pick up a copy of the PS5 version of Resident Evil Village, because I've been really on a Resident Evil kick for the last few years, ever since I beat Resident Evil 4, and I moved onwards and played Resident Evil 2, 3, and then I've just been hooked. I played Resident Evil 7, I played Village, and then, you know, I've been playing the Resident Evil 4 remake on my off time. I've already beat it, and I'm still, you know, cracking away at getting it beaten on a harder difficulty. And getting rid of that stuff and actually going for games that I want to play has been amazing. And the hardest part has been, though, is justifying buying certain games. And when I'm going to sell certain games, like I think I have a stack of NES games, I got a couple PS3 games and some other games over here, N64 games. When I was searching through my collection to see what I needed to get rid of, I ran into the issue of discussing with myself, like the collector mentality, the addiction mentality was, don't get rid of this game. This game could be valuable someday. Or don't get rid of this game. You might play that. You never. But it's just like, okay, I'm trying to think here. Just let me grab this. So I have Ninja Gaiden here. Great game. I play this. But do I really need to own it? Because I have it on several other systems. I think I have it on my NES Classic. I have it on my RetroPie. I think I have it. I don't know if it's on the Switch, but I think I have it on the Switch too. So do I really need to own the physical copy of it? And there'll be people here that gatekeep or whatever that say, yes, you need to own it. But I watched Billy from Game Chasers play the other night, and it looked fun, but it was just like, I don't have an NES hooked up. I have my RetroPie hooked up to my PC, so I wanted to play it. I just had to turn that on, and within a few minutes, I could be playing it. And I could be playing it on a good controller. And I could be playing it on my monitors, I could be streaming it, and all this blah blah blah. But do I really need to own the systems? And then I really need to own the game itself. And I do not have no connection with it. I don't have any. That's been my new thing, is my mentality with my collecting has been, I need to have some kind of connection with it. Whether it be nostalgia, love for the franchise, or, you know, just something that I really wanted it as a kid, or that my friends had that I always played there. I know, like, my N64 collection over here, has been Mario games, because we played that growing up. Zelda Ocarina, Zelda Majora's, Conker's Bad Fur Day, because I remember a buddy had that growing up and we loved it so much. But did I really need to, like Turok Rage Wars? I never played it. Turok 3, I never played it. We only played Turok 1 and 2. And I have those on other systems. I don't need to hold on to it here. So there was just talking more about this. I think this needs to be talked a lot more on YouTube, Facebook, social media. There are people out there that have problems like me that aren't willing to admit that they might be addicted to collecting. And there might be a difference between, there's been discussions of the difference between collecting and hoarding. And I sometimes, maybe it's because I considered myself a collector, but in all actuality, they are almost the same. Unless you are specifically collecting something in general, it's hoarding. I know that, like Pac-Man Case and a few others, they were collecting specifically just N64 games. But then he started off on a tangent on some other systems, like I think it was exclusive Xbox games, exclusive GameCube games. And then once you fill those collections up, what's next, guys? Doing another one. Because you can't stop on one. And a few years back when they started, I think it was Retro Ghetto started a trend. It was, are you a collector or are you a gamer? And I, for the most part, maybe lied and wanted to say I was a gamer, but in all actuality, I was a hoarder. I was hoarding all these games, and then I had them all down here. I didn't want anybody to play them, and I really was starting to run out of room. And it was almost getting to the fact that in my basement, I was always so nervous. Like, I would get anxious and scared and angry whenever it rained, because I was so freaked out that my basement was going to flood and I was going to lose all this stuff. And to the point that I would spend hours sometimes setting stuff up so they were off the ground. So I was like, oh, it's supposed to rain tomorrow. And I'd be like, oh shit, I better put my stuff up, get my stuff up in case it floods the basement. And then it just becoming unbearable outside of that. And that's what it does, guys. It really just like it hurts, or you get this fear and this anxiety, and you just want, it's insane. It really is insanity. And we talked about that, in Alcoholics Anonymous and stuff like that. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. So these people are collecting for these different systems, are collecting for this different stuff. They're collecting for these different subcategories, the sub-genres, the sub-stuff, and expecting different results down the road. And I'm talking to my last video, guys, that, I'm going to end this here because I can go on a tangent for a little bit longer, and it's already going on almost 20 minutes. And this video is probably not really about much. I don't know if people will actually watch this all the way through, but the last one seemed to do good, and it seemed to I had a lot of great responses. People talking to me saying that either they knew somebody that dealt with this, or they set out, they knew somebody that dealt with it, or they themselves dealt with it. And like I said, I even had a couple subscribers tell me that they had to sell everything because they were going down that dark path of losing everything, and all they would have left are these stupid games. And do you really want that? Would you want to lose your family? Would you want to lose your house, your car, and then just have all these stupid games sitting around and just be a lonely old miser with your little collection? Basically a pharaoh in Egypt, buried in your tomb with your video games, and nobody can enjoy them. These games were built to play, and I referenced that in Friends before too, that they thrive on playing. That's what they're there for. Play them, guys. I'm a big advocate now for talking about addiction, especially when it comes with video games. So if you ever have any problems with, the collecting addiction or anything like that, feel free to comment below or reach out to me on Instagram and just let me know your story. In the future, I was hoping to do more videos like this, and if people, you know, tell me about their story and are comfortable with me doing a video talking about it and what my thoughts are on it and general tips and advice for stuff down the road, then we'll keep doing that, guys. You know, I will keep doing these videos if you guys want me to keep doing these videos, so make sure you comment below if you like this or not. But I know this is hard to talk about, and I know that this is a darker side of YouTube that people don't really get real about. We have YouTube channels that want to get real, but I don't know. I see a lot on here, and I think it's either people are, you know, who am I to judge, because I myself deal with it. But like a lot of people say, all you guys see is the positive side of it. You see the happy-go-lucky, the thrill of the hunt, but you don't see the behind the shadows where somebody used their savings for stuff and now they can't afford to fix their car, or they used $200 to buy this game and totally forgot about their wedding anniversary coming up, and now they have no money to buy their spouse a gift in celebration, or to take them on a trip, or spend the night doing something, or going out together, because they spend it all on it. You don't see that side of it, and then all of a sudden you just see the person kind of stop making YouTube videos, or stop making stuff in general, and then you're like, what happened to them? And then you find out that they went down a deep rabbit hole and had some stuff outside of it. And now this isn't just about collecting and stuff like that. There is other stuff that goes along with that, but you never know. And I want to be an advocate for talking about this. So if you guys ever have any issues with collecting, anything in general, and you guys would like to talk about that, make sure you comment below. Or like I said, reach out to me if you want to be more anonymous about it. Reach out to me on Instagram and DM me, and I will not release any of your information or release any of your stories or make fun of you or anything, so don't be worried about that. And if I do plan to ever make a video on it, I will ask you first, because that's what I do on here. I don't like to do stuff without people's permission, unless it's a damn DK Oldies video. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoy this video, and I feel more liberated talking more about this stuff, because a lot of times that's how we heal, is we talk about it. So I'm gonna leave you on that, guys. Thank you for watching. As always, stay retro, guys, and I will see you in the next video.